Hello, welcome to today's episode of the Food and Travel Podcast by State Street Spices. I'm your host, Andrew Rubin, and today we have a very special episode as we will be finishing the series of the best food cities in the United States with our national rankings. Over the last couple months, we've got to rank each regional area in the United States, so I'm so excited to get to rank the country as a whole. So without further ado, let's get started with the point system that we will use for today's podcast. I'm going to give a score out of 10 for both the international cuisine offered in the city and the American cuisine offered in the city, as well as a score out of 10 on how good the restaurants are offered on the city. So let's start this list with number 10. With a score of 22 out of 30, we have Austin, Texas in the number 10 spot. Austin has a lot of amazing restaurants and American cuisine. They're one of the most well-known cities for barbecue, as well as offering amazing Tex-Mex food options like breakfast tacos and burritos. They also have a lot of unique desserts, and really in general, Austin has a lot to offer. However, they do lack in the international scene, with international being 5 out of 10, which is why it's number 10 for today's list. Next, we go across the country for number 9, Buffalo, New York. Buffalo is getting a score of 23 out of 30, with a 6 out of 10 for international, 10 out of 10 for American, and 7 out of 10 for restaurants. Buffalo has a lot of amazing options to offer, including the famous Buffalo Wings, which originated in Buffalo, New York. They also have a lot of Italian foods and also create a lot of different pizzas, as well as other Italian foods like spaghetti parmesan. They also have a lot of unique sandwich options like the Chicken Finger Club. And overall, Buffalo does a really good job. However, it also is slightly lacking international, which is why it's not fully up on this list. Buffalo, New York's rich history of food culture is why we have a Buffalo Spice here at State Street Spices. A Buffalo Spice Mix is a great way to spice up your cooking with the great flavors of Buffalo, New York. Inspired by the medium heat and bold flavors of Buffalo-style food, our spice blend is great for any food. The spice adds an amazing punch of flavor that will leave you wanting more. Next up, in number 8, with another score of 23 out of 30, we have Boston, Massachusetts. Boston gets a 6 out of 10 for international cuisine, 8 out of 10 for American cuisine, and 9 out of 10 for the restaurant scene. In Boston, they are known a lot for items like clam chowder and Boston cream pies, as well as Boston baked beans, and a lot of other types of desserts and seafood options. They're also really well known for their cannolis, and also, when it comes to seafood, are famous for the Boston lobster roll. Boston does a really good job at all three categories, even though, just like the first two on this list, it does slightly lack in international food. The American food and restaurant scene makes up for this, which is why it's at number 8 for this list. Next up, in number 7, we have St. Louis, Missouri, with a score of 23 out of 30. St. Louis has a lot of great international options, getting 8 out of 10, famous for foods in areas like Italian foods, and really just has a lot of great options for many different countries' cultures. For American food, it gets a 6 out of 10 because it lacks slightly in this area. However, still has a lot of great options, especially the St. Louis style pizza. As well as for the restaurant scene, it's 9 out of 10, having a lot of amazing restaurants in the metropolitan area. St. Louis is also well known for the barbecue scene, which is why State Street Spices has our St. Louis barbecue blend, which is a more sugary, rich flavor of a barbecue. And there's a lot of amazing barbecue and pizza restaurants to offer in the city. They really do a good job at the restaurant scene and international food. And while I'd like to see a little more in the American cuisine option, St. Louis still does a really good job overall and is number 7 for today's list. Next up, just missing out on the top 5, we have Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with a score of 24 out of 30. Philadelphia gets a 6 out of 10 for international, with having some options, but not a ton of international cuisine. However, for American food, it gets a 10 out of 10, being known for a lot of famous sandwiches, especially the Philly cheesesteaks. They are also known for some hoagie sandwiches, roasted pork, pork rolls, and really just a lot of amazing sandwiches that they really do well in American food in general. They get an 8 out of 10 for the restaurant scene, having a lot of amazing restaurant options. Some other items they're known for in Philadelphia are their soft pretzels and their baked goods. Overall, Philadelphia does one of the best jobs in the United States at offering diverse cuisine, both when it comes to American food and international food, as well as offering a lot of great restaurants, which is why it's number 6 for our list today. Next up, at number 5, we have San Francisco, California, also with a score of 24 out of 30. San Francisco does international food quite well, receiving 8 out of 10. They also do American food quite well, and the restaurant scene is just as amazing, which is why it's all 8 out of 10s across the board. San Francisco is most well known for their seafood options, but also has a great pizza scene, also offering a lot of different coffee options, as well as a lot of other food, including prime ribs and oysters. Overall, San Francisco does a really good job at diversification when it comes to their food scene, and really there's food for and restaurants for everyone and any type of person's what they like, and San Francisco really just does a great job with our offerings. Next, at number 4, we have New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans gets a score of 25 out of 30, getting a 9 out of 10 on international, and 8 out of 10 on American food and the restaurant scene. New Orleans is known for foods like the po' boys, along with other sandwiches, as well as the Southern style food like jambalaya and shrimp and grits, and the seafood options including gumbo and different Cajun options. However, they also have a lot of different unique desserts in New Orleans, and overall they also just do a great job with diversification, especially when it comes to matching both international and American cuisine options, which is why New Orleans is at number 4 for our list today. Now moving on to our top 3. At number 3, we have Chicago, Illinois. Chicago gets a score of 27 out of 30 for their cuisine that includes deep dish pizza, hot dogs, popcorn, Italian beef sandwiches, and so much more. For international food, they get an 8 out of 10, having a lot of great options. However, they really are well known for their American food, getting 10 out of 10, and has amazing restaurant cuisine with 9 out of 10. I personally really like the Chicago deep dish pizza. I went to Giordano's when I was in Chicago to try it, and it was really amazing. And you can really see why Chicago has such a great both restaurant scene and American food cuisine when it comes to the food scene, and that's really why it's at number 3 for today's list. Next, our runner-up is Los Angeles, California. Los Angeles gets a score of 28 out of 30, doing a really good job at international cuisine with a 10 out of 10, and getting 9 out of 10 both in the American food cuisine and the restaurant options. LA is very well known for their tacos, that's why we have our LA taco seasoning, and they're really known for a lot of other Mexican and Tex-Mex options. However, they also have a lot of great Asian cuisine, and have a lot of amazing seafood options known for different exotic options like octopus and eel, as well as items like California rolls and French dips. They also, of course, are known for avocado toast, and really just do a great job at both the American and international foods, and the restaurants really match the food scene, which is why LA is our runner-up on today's list. Before moving on to number 1, let's give some honorable mentions. Our first 3 honorable mentions are scores of 20 out of 30. The first one being Madison, that does a really good job at American cuisine and restaurants. However, they lack in international cuisine, getting a 3 out of 10 in international, 9 out of 10 in American, and 8 out of 10 in the restaurant scene. Another honorable mention with a 20 out of 30 is Cincinnati, Ohio, known for their Cincinnati chili, which is State Street Spices blend. They get 5 out of 10 for international, doing better on the American cuisine with 8 out of 10, and doing pretty well in the restaurant scene as well with 7 out of 10. The other 20 out of 30 goes to Las Vegas. That's known for a lot of amazing and crazy foods. They get an 8 out of 10 for American and 9 out of 10 for restaurant scene. However, also lack international food, which is why it's 3 out of 10 for listless. The next honorable mention we have with a score of 21 out of 30 is Nashville, Tennessee. Also lacking international, but not quite as much, with a 4 out of 10. But doing a really good job with a 9 out of 10 in American food, offering things like Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, with Nashville hot being another State Street Spices blend, and an 8 out of 10 in the restaurant scene, which is equally as good. The last honorable mention goes to Washington, D.C. with a score of 22 out of 30. They get a 7 out of 10 when it comes to international food, 7 out of 10 for American, and 8 out of 10 when it comes to restaurant scene. I've been to a lot of DC restaurants that have been amazing, like Tonic and Lupo Marina. I'd highly recommend the food scene, and it really does a great job of diversification, just missing out on the list for today. And now, without further ado, number 1 is New York City, New York. New York gets a score of 29 out of 30, getting a 10 out of 10 in international in the restaurant scene, and getting 9 out of 10 on the American cuisine. It was really hard not to give them a perfect score, but I really think cities can always improve, which is why I gave a 9 out of 10 for American food. But they really just do a great job with all sorts of options, from Middle Eastern dishes to Chinese food, and of course the classic bagels offered in New York, and the New York style pizza, which is what I think is personally the best city for pizza in the world, as well as having a lot of different desserts like cannolis and American food like fried chicken and hot dogs. There's really no going wrong in New York, and it really just has an option for so many people. They're also known for the New York steak, which is why I have a New York steak spice blend at State Street Spices. But really, whatever food you're looking for, I can guarantee that New York has an amazing restaurant for that. And that's really why New York is number 1 on this list. For the best food scene in the United States, go to New York City with a 29 out of 30. This has been a truly amazing series to do. I'm really excited this was the first series completion. I really was interested in all these different cities and ranking them. We will now move on for the next episode to the best pizza scenes in the country, which I hinted at some in this episode. So I'm really excited for that, and stay tuned for that, as well as stay tuned for upcoming series that we start. Thank you so much for your support and watching today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Use the code SPICE10, that's SPICE 10, at checkout on StateStreetSpices.com to get 10% off your next order. Thank you.